Welcome to the deep dive. We've pulled together quite a bit of material today, articles and research, to really dig into something that, well, shapes so much of what we do.
Yeah, whether you're aiming for those big goals or, just managing the day-to-day stuff.
Exactly.
We've been looking at excerpts, different takes on discipline, specifically how do you build it? How do you keep it going? Especially on those days when doing anything else sounds better.
Right. So our mission here in this deep dive is to kind of cut through all that and pull out the key insights from this material. We want to understand, okay, what is discipline really? Why does it feel so hard sometimes? And most importantly, what are some practical things we can actually do? We'll touch on ideas like consistency, structure, even self-respect, surprisingly.
And the aim for you listening in is hopefully to leave with some solid knowledge you can apply right away to help you approach your own goals, your own tasks. Well, maybe with more than just waiting for motivation to strike.
Okay, let's jump in then, because when you hear discipline, I think for a lot of us, the first image is something, I don't know, rigid,
Yeah.
maybe a bit joyless.
Yeah, or super strict. But the material we looked at, it offers a different angle, something that feels more achievable, maybe.
It definitely reframes it. Instead of
Yeah.
thinking harshness or, having to be perfect all the time, multiple sources defined it pretty simply.
They did. It boils down to doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it.
That last part feels crucial, doesn't it? Even when you don't feel like doing it.
Oh, absolutely. It immediately sets it apart from, say, motivation.
Right, because motivation.
Well, one piece put it really clearly. Motivation is described as like a mood. It's fleeting. It comes and goes.
Yeah. Totally unreliable sometimes.
Whereas discipline, that's framed more as a conscious decision, something you make day in, day out, especially when that motivation just isn't there.
Okay, so motivation might light the fire, get you started. But discipline is the thing that keeps the logs burning when that initial spark fades. Less feeling, more choosing.
Precisely. And the why behind that choice, according to the material, it's fundamentally about showing up for yourself.
Showing up for yourself. How so?
It's choosing the long-term benefit, the future well-being, over what feels good or easy right now. It's almost like sending a message to your future self saying, hey, I've got your back. I handled this.
I like that framing. I've got your back. But okay, if it's about showing up for ourselves, why is making that choice often so incredibly hard? It feels like a fight sometimes.
Well, yeah, and one source we read didn't really sugarcoat it. It basically said, look, discipline is hard because distractions are easy.
Tell me about it. Seems like there are endless easy distractions just waiting.
And there's biology involved, too, the research points out. Our brains, they're kind of wired to save energy, seek comfort, take the path of least resistance. So doing something that takes effort, something uncomfortable, that actually goes against some deep-seated programming.
So we're kind of fighting our own internal wiring when we try to be disciplined. Okay, that explains a lot.
It can definitely feel like a battle, especially at first. But here's where the material offered a really interesting, almost counterintuitive idea.
Oh.
Every single time you do choose the disciplined action, no matter how small it feels, you're actually strengthening your ability to do it again. They described it like building a mental muscle.
A mental muscle, I like that a lot. So every time you push through resistance, you're not just like getting the thing done.
No, you're also making it just a tiny bit easier for next time. You're building capacity.
Okay.
And yeah, the start is the toughest part. But the sources were reassuring on this. It does get easier over time, bit by bit, step by step, as one piece put it. It's about the practice, not some overnight miracle.
That's really encouraging, actually. Thinking of it as a skill you build, not just something you have or don't have. Okay, so we have a working definition. We get why it's tough but trainable. What about the how? What practical tools did the sources give for building this discipline muscle?
Yeah, this part felt very concrete. One of the big ones coming up again and again was basically start small, stay consistent.
Right. Don't try to go from zero to hero overnight. If you want to write more, maybe don't commit to 2 hours straight away if you haven't written in weeks.
Exactly that. The examples were like, don't aim for 2 hours of deep work if you currently struggle to do 10 minutes. Showing up consistently for that 10 minutes, that's way more powerful initially than aiming big and failing. It's the regularity that builds the habit.
Makes sense. And related to consistency, a second thing mentioned was write it down.
Several sources talked about the power of making your intentions physical, almost. A written goal, one said, is just more likely to become a reality.
Like making it real.
Yeah. And a specific tactic was planning your day the night before. Set the intention before the morning chaos hits and distractions creep in.
Okay, third point, something we kind of touched on, actively managing your space. The advice was to cut the distractions.
And this wasn't just like, try not to get distracted. It was proactive. Put the phone in another room before you start. Use an app to block those websites, are rabbit holes.
Don't just rely on willpower against temptation.
Exactly. Engineer your environment. Set yourself up for success.
That feels much smarter. Okay, fourth tip, move your body.
This one might seem a bit out of left field at first, maybe, but the material really linked physical movement to mental focus and discipline.
How so?
Even just a short walk, stretching for a few minutes, it can apparently help reset your focus and boost discipline. It seems our physical state really impacts our mental ability to tackle hard things.
Yeah, I can see that. Sometimes just getting up and moving around breaks that mental logjam.
Yeah.
Okay, and the fifth practical tip, it connects back to what we said earlier about purpose. Remember your why.
This is a really strong theme. One piece had this great line: discipline without a purpose feels like punishment. Discipline with a purpose feels like power.
Wow, that's powerful in itself.
Isn't it? Connecting the daily actions, even the annoying ones, to a bigger reason, it just makes the effort feel meaningful.
It shifts it from something you feel you have to do to something you choose to do.
Yeah.
Because it aligns with a goal or a value, something you actually care about.
Exactly. That's the fuel, right? The thing that keeps you making that decision over and over.
Okay, so we've got the what, the why it's hard, and the how to build it. But let's face it, building habits, being disciplined, it's not always smooth sailing. What about slip-ups? Because we all have them.
Oh, absolutely. And the sources were really direct about this. Like, you will slip up. Everyone does. But the key framing was that that's not failure. That's part of growth.
That's a helpful reframe. So missing a day or messing up isn't proof you're undisciplined. It's just part of the process.
Exactly. And the crucial thing they emphasized was the bounce back. The most important move after a slip-up is to get back on track quickly.
Don't let it spiral.
Right. Don't let one missed workout become a missed week or one ignored task derail the whole project.
So how do they suggest you actually do that when you've just slipped up and maybe feel a bit rubbish about it?
The steps were pretty simple, actually. Forgive yourself, adjust your plan if needed, and keep going.
Forgive yourself.
Yeah.
That seems almost opposite to the old school tough love idea of discipline, doesn't it?
It really does. But beating yourself up, dwelling on it, that's counterproductive. It can make you just want to quit altogether. The goal, stressed again and again in the material, isn't perfection, it's progress.
Progress, not perfection.
Okay.
Yeah. That really changes the whole feeling of it, makes it seem much more human and sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
And this idea about self-forgiveness and focusing on progress, it leads into maybe the biggest mindset shift presented in the sources we looked at.
Yeah, this one really stood out across different pieces. Discipline is fundamentally self-love in action.
Wow. Okay. Self-love, that just completely flips the usual script, the idea that discipline means being hard on yourself.
It does. The material made that distinction very clear. It's explicitly not about being tough on yourself in a punishing way. Instead, it's about honoring that part of you that wants more, that has goals, that wants to build a better life, and then actively doing the work required.
So every time you make that discipline choice, it's not punishment. It's more like an investment in yourself. Because you value your future potential.
Yes. You're acting out of self-respect, building the life you want. It turns the effort from feeling like an obligation into, well, like you said, an investment. A powerful way of caring for yourself.
And if you're listening to this right now,
you're actually kind of doing it already.
That's a great point. Just by tuning into this deep dive, by spending your time learning about this, thinking about how it applies to you, you are making a disciplined choice. You're investing in your own growth.
Absolutely. You're here. You're listening, learning, growing. That's exactly the spirit of discipline we saw reflected in the sources.
So wrapping this up, this deep dive suggests discipline isn't about being perfect or robotic or waiting for lightning to strike in the form of motivation.
No, it's a decision, a conscious choice to act, built through small, consistent steps. By managing your environment, moving your body, and really connecting those actions to a meaningful why.
And maybe the biggest shift, seeing it not as harshness, but as showing up for yourself. An act of self-respect, self-love, aimed at making progress toward the future you want.
Exactly. And maybe here's a final thought for you to take away from all this.
Yeah.
Take a quiet moment later, maybe, and really reflect on your personal why. What deeper purpose or value could fuel your discipline in one specific area you care about? Because really clarifying that reason, as the material suggests, it can genuinely transform how discipline feels. From a chore to, well, empowerment. And maybe, just maybe, think about one small consistent step you could take this week based on that why and the tools we talked about. Just one step.